shining over the chainsaw, making that highway run. Now I have.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. That's Two Houses. That's Two Houses. I'd like to give a formal shout out to them. They're in Chicago, Illinois. Hello, listeners. Hello, viewers. Hello, anybody and everybody within the sound and reach of my voice. This is No Frequency Radio, hosted at River West Film and Video here Monday night, every Monday night at 6 p.m. roughly. We got it on the head this time because the guy who came here before us had a little mishap in his scheduling, so I was able to. I had ample time to set up, which is very nice. I rarely have that leisure. I rarely have that gift of the lofty time to set up. At any rate, I'm doing the show sans Billy the Business tonight. He's also got a prior engagement, so I'm the only one without prior engagements, it would seem, tonight. And I'm going to start off with a disclaimer, as always. Welcome to No Frequency. My name is Dominic Wanzer, and I am the producer of this show. The things you will hear over the next hour, or 50 minutes or so, represent the views of No Frequency and the people making them. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, which is I, the guests and callers, which is next to none, unless somebody decides to call. River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from the content of this program, and neither is River West Film and Video. I'd like to thank Zab, if he's listening, if you got that on back there. Thank you, Zab, for letting us do this show. We appreciate the forum and the accessibility of the forum very much, and if we didn't do this, we might explode, because it's we used to have this talk about every day, Bill and I. We still do have the same talk and the same content almost every day, but if we couldn't kind of publish it in some way and get it through a medium that we could really get out to a lot of people, I don't think that not to say that I'm responsible for a lot of thought-provoking among my friends, but I like to keep their thoughts healthy. I like to keep their synapses firing, So if I didn't have this medium, I don't think I could communicate with a lot of my friends in the way that I do. Like Two Houses or Flynn, my cousin. Hello, Flynn, in Prescott, Arizona. She just recently had a baby, my niece now, Avery Julia Civic. I think I nailed that on the head for the first time on my own accord. Who is 4 months old now, and Jesus Christ. It's 4 months is a long time. I already had another nephew, Anthony Trilogy. Anthony Trilogy the second now. My nephew. So, Chili Chill. Hi, Chili.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good. Should I have a seat or what?
I'm really not prepared for guests. I kind of wanted to do it solo.
Alright.
I apologize. But I will keep you posted for when we get some kind of... Yeah, I didn't know what you wanted to be on. But yeah, I'll let you know.
Alright.
Thanks. Chili Chill, ladies and gentlemen, who hosts another hour at his own show, which is pretty much an eclectic show of guests and news and the current events. Chili Chill in the studio today, but I've not had a chance to really nail this one solo, ever. I've always had a co-host, so I want to see how it is solo. At any rate, let's give the shout-outs to my cousin Flynn in Prescott, Arizona, and Brenna Olson at Zoomies, the Zoomies crew. I don't think they listen, but I'd like them. I'd like her to get it on the radio at their location, which would be great promo. I don't think she's able to though. Alex Hayes and Fuel, the Fuel Cafe. I know that they listen to us or at least watch us. They've got awesome coffee and great food. And, Scott and Leslie do a good job at that place. Just as well, Elisa Grassi in Las Vegas, Nevada. long ways away that we're reaching out to here. The Newmans, one in Iowa. I don't know if it's Cedar Rapids, but I believe John Newman Sr. in Cedar Rapids, and Liz Newman in Gang Mills, New York, specifically around Syracuse. If she gets a chance to listen to this, John Newman Jr., or as I call him, Newman, if you get a chance to see this, hi. Aaron Straith, Aaron Frederick, the Duke of New York, all of New York, the newest York that you could fathom. Two Houses Chicago, out west, and Billy the Business. Shout out to Billy the Business. A rare shout out today to Bill the Business and his ex-mother-in-law, I believe is the relation. I don't know her name, but hello, if you get a chance to listen to this. I'm sure he's thinking right now, oh, Dom's doing the show, and he's probably freaking out without me because he has no forum. Well, Bill, I do have a little bit of a forum. I've never done it without a co-host, so it's a brand new thing for me. It's a brand new forum. It's a brand new dynamic, and if I can, I'd like to try this out a little bit. Well, I have tried it out a little bit because I don't have anybody subs to me, but I'd like to see exactly how far this goes. So now, I've got more microphones on. They're listening to me. I've got some news and I've got some opinions, and we'll just go through the news and opinions. And if anybody'd like to call, feel free to call me. I got a phone here. The phone number is area code 414-935-2951. We're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In case anybody catches us anywhere across the world. If I get a Crete caller, that would be awesome. Is anybody in Ecuador listening? How about Honduras? All right. I've got here. This is ridiculous. The headline for this, and it's on Reuters.com. The headline for this: General Motors Co. sold a record number of Chevy Volt sedans in August. Which is great, you know. Anybody doing good sales is something to be celebrated, especially if you're doing good sales of a hybrid vehicle. I'm sure you get a great tax break for that if you're Chevrolet. However, your tax break or even your profit margin doesn't really compare to the money you're losing. Now, path-breaking plug-in hybrid. GM is still losing as much as $49,000. $49,000 on each Volt it builds. Now, I imagine that Chevrolet is pumping out a couple 100,000 volts a day. Just spitballing numbers and giving rough estimates of how the market manufactures. I would say, and Tim Hansen, if you're listening, feel free to call me. I would say that GM Chevy probably spits out factory a couple 10,000, maybe 100,000 cars a day, thousands of volts a day. And it's going to nothing. Cheap Volt lease offers meant to drive more customers to Chevy showrooms this summer may have pushed that loss even higher. Probably did. If you take that sentence apart, it probably did. Because you'd have to manufacture more because summer is the demand season for cars and purchasing cars. So now you're advertising the Volt, you're paying people to sell the Volt, you're paying people commission on the Volt, you're paying the retailers the commission on the Volt, and you're making, and you're losing. You're not even making, you're losing. And I can't believe $49,000 per car. Americans paying $5,050 to drive around for 2 years in a vehicle that costs as much as $89,000 to produce. Loss per vehicle will shrink as more built and sold. GM is still years away from profiting. So in order to break even, they're still years away on this car that's meant to save its purpose is to save money for everybody. It's meant to save money among the driver, because now you pay for electricity, you're not paying for as much gas. And probably Chevy thought that they had this real great product to push out there and help the cleaner, greener initiative. It kind of ties into the previous hour that was absent. The greener initiative that exists for the world now. I know in Germany you can't manufacture a car. Well, you can, but you get a tax, an outrageous tax in Germany, if you manufacture a car that cannot be 100% recycled. Now, you can call that what you want. I think it's an okay thing, because it pushes human innovation. And when innovation is pushed, labor is saved, because less people are required to make the same product or more products. Human innovation, at any rate, I think is a good thing. Even though it used to be, in instances, I can't think of the Roman emperor, but there was a specific Roman emperor that I know that outlawed innovation because it would displace so much labor. However, the market will find a way around that, as evidenced in human history. Back to the point, this car is meant to save everybody money. It was meant to push forward the initiative. It's just costing GM more and more money. Nissan, Honda, and Mitsubishi have been struggling to sell their electric hybrid vehicles. Toyota's Prius models have been in increasing demand. I see these companies, and I don't think it's a new thing, and I don't think any of my friends, particularly like Tim Hansen or Miles Fox or Desmond Jones, notably, I don't think any of those guys or anybody that knows of those guys or associates with those circles or knows anything remotely about cars expected the American market to reemerge as really big players in global profit margins and auto sales. I think they all saw that the foreign cars work the best. Miles Fox is a champion of Subaru. Tim Hansen's been a champion of Toyota for years. He's now working for Heiser Ford. And from what I gather, he's still as much of a car salesman, if not more of a car salesman, and just as honest in his profession. I think Tim's probably a great salesman. I never talked to him about it, but I think he's probably of the best fits for the job of car salesman. They talk about a guy that knows just so much about the automotive industry and the history of it. And he's had how many cars? He said he's probably had about 140 cars. I think I was talking to him the other months ago. He says if you can sit down and just think, he can actually remember every car that he's ever had. And he said he remembers his cars better than he remembers most people's names and faces, which is an amazing feat to me, because why would you remember your car instead of this guy you're going to meet and maybe he'll be important to you. At any rate, Tim's great knowledge on the cars, and I don't think any of them saw that GM was gonna become a player in the world. I don't think anybody saw that. Nobody predicted that, and of course it's not come to fruition. Ford, of course, who did not take the bailout money, has increased their profits among all the other American among all the other American manufacturers. They've stood out in innovation as well as sales and demands for the market, and fluctuating with the market to meet its demand. Now, if you can do that, you're good business. You're good business, because every business will face tough situations. You can make an economic model of something and how something should work out according to a market, but that's never the case because we don't exist in a perfect world, obviously. And so how businesses respond to that lack of perfection, or rather adversity in any phase, is almost a direct correlation or corollary measure to how successful the business will be. And that sounds so intuitive, and it sounds so obvious for me to say it. Like, oh yeah, obviously everybody knows that how businesses respond to the market is a sign of how well they're going to succeed. But it's not so easy when you don't know how to respond. People that, and I guess I point to the great capitalist story of McDonald's for this, because McDonald's has changed their menus significantly to meet demands of a greener conscious among the world, and so they're pushing their salads now. They're pushing their light menu. I think Taco Bell is like a Fresca menu now to catch up with McDonald's. They're pushing that. They're putting the calories and not the calories, the nutritional information, on all of their products, and making their nutritional information for each specific item on the menu as accessible as possible via website, via print, I think it's on the back of the menus. If you get the trays for the in-store eating, you're eating in the store, and you get the tray, and they put a little piece of paper on it. On the front's the special or some sort for the month, and on the back, I believe, is the nutritional facts for most of the specific items on the menu, because people want that, and they want to be health conscious now. So when you can, McDonald's is still opening up new restaurants every day. They're still employing people at higher than minimum wage, let me just say, starting out. So of the great capitalist stories is McDonald's and Ford. Even going as far back as the origination of Ford, you could argue that they've been fluctuating with the market ever since their inception. But businesses that respond to the market in an appropriate way will succeed. Will succeed if the challenges are met with diligence, if they're met with a cool, calm, collected head. You can say, here's the problem, and okay, well, I have this problem. And you're looking at it through this subjective lens, but then you can detach yourself and maybe come back in a day or two and look at it with the cool light of reason to say, okay, what actually needs to be done here that I can think of? What did I learn in my econ class, or what did I learn in my business class, or what I learned in of my previous managers and how they responded to situations of such. How can I turn this situation around? How can I meet the demand for the market? How can I meet the market's demand? Where was I? The Volt. I'm gonna quote directly here. So I can't believe that Nissan was of the most failing car manufacturers just about 2 years ago in the world. Their sales lagged well behind their projections. I don't know what they've done to turn it around, but apparently they're beating GM. Maybe it was a bailout related thing. The article again is Reuters.com/article/2012/09/10/US General Motors Autos Volt. You could search GM Volt News today on 9/10, and this will come up. Search Reuters. So let's put in quotations here. GM's quandary is how to increase sales volume so that it can spread its estimated $1.2 billion investment in the Volt over more vehicles while reducing manufacturing and component costs, which will be difficult to bring down until sales increase. Uses expensive lithium polymer batteries, sophisticated electronics, and an electric motor combined with a gasoline engine. Have kept many prospective buyers away from Chevy showrooms. And I wouldn't... You know what? If Tim Hansen... I'm going to reference Tim Hansen's all through this article and maybe through the rest of the show. If Tim Hansen said, hey, Dominic, preferably. If he said, hey, Dominic, I've got this Chevy Volt down at the showroom. I've got this Chevy Volt. I say, well, Tim, I can't drive. Well, that'll be a whole different issue. I say, Tim, I heard about this Volt deal, and you're not selling me on it. And if it was the last car on Earth, I would probably have to consider it at least. But as it stands now, there are more cars in the world than there are people. So I really don't think I'll have to worry about that anytime soon. I'm going to see soon people are going to start getting rid of their cars to pay for their houses. So that'll be fun. I'm waiting for that. That's going to be my great America. When the cars go down. Or when the houses go down to make room for more agriculture. That would be interesting to see. Because I don't know. I know it in Detroit they're doing it on a small scale. They're independent farms all around because there are so many unoccupied houses. But the way that economies shift from, well, if your prosperity increases, your population will increase. And if your population increases, you shift your economy from agriculture to housing. Literally directly by turning the land into housing. It can be reversed, and I don't know if a lot of people have considered that. Certainly the banks don't want to lose those investments in the houses. Certainly the people don't want to lose their houses. Certainly nobody who's invested in the land wants to lose it. But we can shift back to agriculture. And if agriculture needs more percentage of the GDP, well, so be it. There's a food shortage, so they say, as it is, and food costs are going up. The aggregate demand for milk has gone down. So, if aggregate demand goes down and the supply remains up, the price will be as low as it is, which has already been rising, until the supplies diminish, and then prices will go up even further. Which is fine for me. I'm lactose intolerant, which I think might be a leading cause of these these aggregate milk sales going down. As people are entering their adulthoods and buying less milk because they realize that you don't really need milk for your protein to sustain you. There's way more. You can get the Lactaid milk with the lactose-free milk for cheaper, I believe. I think it's cheaper. And you can get, your protein from a lot of different places, too. You don't need... And if you're not going to eat meat, well, then I think you drink the whey protein. You can do that. Sandy Munro, president of Monroe, Michigan-based Munro & Associates, which performs detailed teardown analyses of vehicles and components for global manufacturers and the United States government, says, and quote, I do not see how General Motors will ever get its money back on that vehicle. That's a lot to say. I wonder if they're going to need another bailout. I wonder how that's going to relate, if at all, to the campaign, and see if Romney is going to pull maybe not an ace, but like a jack out of his sleeve and say, oh, look at Solyndra, look at GM. You cannot. Let me just say this again. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Government cannot create a demand for something, for a market, by throwing money at it. They tried to do it with Solyndra. Tried to do it with GM. There are jobs at GM. GM's coming back. It's not a global player like it could have been. It's not a global player like I don't think it ever was. Toyota and Honda are just, pillars of of great business that are overshadowing greatly GM. And I don't know how anybody doesn't see that. But you can't. If I'm going to throw money at something, I better make sure that there's a demand for it. A lot of people think, well, yeah, I'm just going to have this money and buy this business and start this business, and people are just going to walk in the door and call me up, and I'm going to give them what I sell and profit. That's just so easy and intuitive, but it's not that easy. You can't create a demand for something or there's no demand for it unless you can create a demand for it by advertising. If you can create a demand for it by advertising, or maybe penalizing something like a tax on something that isn't to your liking. I think the United States government could do that, obviously. Create a tax on a car that isn't 100% recyclable. Well, that'll shift the innovation a little bit. That'll shift manufacturing to do one thing. I don't agree with power to do that. Create your own demand. All right. I'm about halfway through the show. Wow. I'm going to take a break, and there's a Chicago teachers strike. This just broke today, which is great. The whole state of Illinois is in shambles. We got the pension system downgrading them to... They're fighting with California for one of the worst grades. For the bottom two credit scores, according to Moody's Standard & Poor, state by state, California and Illinois. It was California at the bottom and then Illinois, but I think Illinois just beat them for the bottom spot because their busted healthcare, their busted pension system. And Pat Quinn, the governor of Illinois, has the audacity to, I do not like Pat Quinn, and I'll go on the record and say that. If you watch the DNC video, you got Pat Quinn, he's eyeing the audience. So you see me or... And he's literally nodding as they applaud him and, like, biting his bottom lip. And he's just this freaking snake of a human being. And I can't believe that he gets away with swaying so many... I can't believe people buy his BS. It's ridiculous. The audacity of Pat Quinn. And our governor came out and said, well, that's just one of the stark contrasts between our states. You got this, and Pat Quinn, much to his chagrin, Pat Quinn is saying, well, Walker, he needs to create more jobs, but but his pension system is running surpluses, but he hasn't done anything to create jobs. Well, as far as I can't. Because you can't throw money at something and expect it to fix itself, you fucking retard. You're a retard. How did he get his job? He must have been an Illinois lawyer. That's gotta be how he got his job. Ridiculous. All right, I'm going to go on break, and I'm going to play some music while we're on the break. But we'll get to the Chicago story. And I want to talk about one of the greatest presidents, one of the least recognized, but one of the greatest presidents that this country's ever seen. And I want to talk about why he's one of the greatest presidents, and maybe a little bit about his life, maybe a short biography, one that Alan Nevins would be, proud to call his own, maybe. I'll give you a hint there if anybody's familiar with biographer Alan Nevins. So, here's some music.
hurry up before we all go crazy. Don't it gonna make you wonder who you trusted? City back down, the biggest wheels in town are getting busted. Been so long, much too long. Let's get it right down to the bone. Been so long, much too long. Let's get it right down to the bone. Been so long.
Tabby was gone in your hideaway. Lucy was farthest away. Hey, 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 hey. Chucky was balls and he's always up. Lucy just got out the way. Hey, 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 hey. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away. Tabby went down in a vortex. Lucy was lost in the mix. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, hey, hey. Chucky was balls like he always is. Lucy bowed out of the play. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 hey. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away. Teenage with sorrow alone, my ladder and to climb over, but know thy limits. A true magician will grow on top of a tomb. Too little old Chucky, I bought my uglies and down and beat on to start over. A blue musician will blow right out of the room. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away. Something to know, something to say, something to take my blues away.
Maybe. I mean, I can't promise when. But generally, when people get off work, that's when they start coming in. Then after dinner. Okay. But yeah, you know, you just try to.
So, the first song you heard was Worldwide by Alan Toussaint, or Toussaint, I believe it's Toussaint though, if we're going to be true to pronunciation, linguistics. And the second artist that you heard was Boston Spaceships, which I think is a really rad band name, man. It's Boston Spaceships, it's a side project of, I'm going to call him Sir Robert Pollard, of Guided by Voices fame. If nobody's familiar with Guided by Voices, get familiar with Guided by Voices. They're of the greatest pioneers of indie rock and helped shape indie rock to what it is today. Listen to Guided by Voices. I don't know what else I need to say there. The man is so prolific. He's been with multiple groups, at least 10, that were all starring him as the sole songwriter. He's written over about 2,000 songs now. I think it's probably about 2,000 songs now. Just these 2-minute gems that will catch you and leave you wanting more, and he's really good at that. It's a certain simplicity. When the song is simple, it's great. And when there are like 100 or 2 to choose from, at least, you got a catalog that'll satisfy me. All right, at any rate, I'm going to get to this Chicago story. I'm going to read verbatim from SeattlePI.com. Chicago AP. For the first time in a quarter century, Chicago teachers walked out of the classroom Monday taking a bitter contract dispute over evaluations and job security to the streets of the nation's third largest city and to a national audience less than a week after most schools open for the fall. The walkout forced hundreds of thousands of parents to scramble for somewhere to send idle children and created an unwelcome political distraction for Mayor Rahm Emanuel. In a year when labor unions have been losing ground nationwide, Wisconsin, the implications were sure to extend far beyond Chicago, particularly for districts engaged in similar debates, Wisconsin. $16% raise over 4 years, and the two sides had essentially agreed on a longer school day. But the teachers still want more. The teachers currently make among the highest average salaries in the nation. The ones in Chicago, and they want more. But negotiators were still divided on job security measures and a system for evaluating teachers that hinged in part on student standardized test scores. Wow. How absurd that somebody should be judged on how well they do their fucking job. How absurd is that? Huh? I can't just get money for sitting around here? I can just work the first 3 years and maybe sit around the next 2 years?
Yeah. All right, cool. Bye, guys.
That is ridiculous. And you know what? I'm glad, and I'll be the first to say, I'm glad that this happened. I'm glad this happened. The president's come out in favor of the teachers' union. The president just seems to be pro-chaos. Are we clear on that? Just pro-chaos, huh? Just pro-big everything. You want the teachers who have the highest salaries in the country, who want 16% over the next 4 years. And they are agreed to that. They're guaranteed that, actually. They're guaranteed. They've signed right here to a 16% raise over the next 4 years. And a longer day. A longer day. Do students need a longer... Do they need a longer day? That's counter to how students learn. You know, public education doesn't work. And it's ridiculous because here, I'm going to pull up a different article because I'm just getting angry now. If there's one place, you know, America does take hints from the rest of the world, and people say, a lot of the left say, oh, we should model our programs after, you know, Europe, socialist countries and such. I don't particularly agree with that. I do like Germany's tax on non-recyclable cars. I think that's a good direction to go, but the free market might reject it. Unfortunately, for better or worse, the free market might reject it and say, well, that's just too expensive, and the lawmakers will repeal that law. That's how that will go. Germany is experiencing unique austerity, whereas most of their neighboring countries are not. I'm going to pull up a separate article here on bbc.co.uk, news.bbc.co.uk, about Finland schools. Headline, why do Finland schools get the best results? Last year, more than 100 foreign delegations and governments visited Helsinki, hoping to learn the secret of their school success. In 2006, Finland's pupils scored the highest average results in science and reading in the whole of the developed world. In the OECD's exams for 15-year-olds, known as PISA, they also came in second in maths, beaten only by teenagers in South Korea. This isn't a one-off. In previous PISA tests, Finland also came out top. The Finnish philosophy with education is that everyone has something to contribute, and those who struggle in certain subjects should not be left behind. A tactic used in virtually every lesson is the provision of an additional teacher who helps those who struggle in a particular subject. But the pupils are all kept in the same classroom, regardless of their ability in that subject. The Finnish system supports very much those pupils who have learning difficulties, but we have to pay more attention also to those pupils who are very talented. It's almost like merit. Merit and supervision. Those exist in management and every other job. Late learners. According to the OECD, Finnish children spend the fewest number of hours in the classroom in the developed world. This reflects another important theme of Finnish education. Primary and secondary schooling is combined, so the pupils don't have to change schools at age 13. They avoid a potentially disruptive transition from one school to another. Less is more. Are we listening? America? Mom and dad back at home and all the ships at sea. Finnish parents obviously claim some credit for the impressive school results. There is a culture of reading with kids at home, and families have regular contact with their children's teachers. Teaching is a prestigious career in Finland. Teachers are highly valued, and teachers' standards are high. The educational system's success in Finland seems to be part cultural. Pupils study in a relaxed and informal atmosphere. Finland also has low levels of immigration, so when people start school, the majority have Finnish as their native language, eliminating an obstacle that other societies often face. That's a different dynamic, a different variable, but still important. Less can be more. Relaxed schools. Free from political prescriptions. This combination, they believe, means that no child is left behind. I would say that that's a wise way to manage the system of education. Less than a bureaucracy. I got Brendan O'Day here. I think he's surprised to see that my co-host is not with me. I've got 5 minutes left. If I'm good for 5, right?
Sure.
All right.
What does it say?
Well, I got 6:45 on my computer.
Why does it say 11:56?
I don't know. It's been stuck there for the whole hour.
Oh, you're good.
All right. Set up. All right. I'm going to talk for a second about one of the greatest presidents this country's ever seen. The only president in the history of the country to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. And therefore, the only individual to be counted twice in the numbering of the presidents. He was, however, the winner of the popular vote 3 times. I'm talking about Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland was the leader of the branch of Democrats that doesn't quite exist anymore, the Bourbon Democrats, who opposed high tariffs. They opposed free silver. They opposed inflation. They opposed imperialism and subsidies to business, farmers or veterans. What Cleveland did, which was very telling of his character, is that there was an economic panic in 1893. And the whole country faced a severe depression. Not quite as bad as the Great Depression, but almost as bad. Panic was worsened by the acute shortage of gold that resulted from free silver. Cleveland never got a chance to fully realize the economic turnaround that inevitably happened post-presidency. But the way he dealt with labor, too. Coxey's army, the Pullman strike, sending in troops to squash the rebellion. As he should have. Because labor unrest in the midst of a depression isn't going to create anything except more depression. It's going to exacerbate an already terrible situation. So you take the wage cut, you take the tax hike if you need to, you shut up and do your job. Prices will rise or fall on everything that you need. You put your head down, you be grateful that you're employed. Like I am. Well, Cleveland had that a lot of presidents actually, let's see. Who was president before? We got Obama now. We got Bush, Clinton. It's before Clinton. Bush, Reagan, Carter, Ford, Nixon. I don't think any president since John F. Kennedy has had the amount of honesty and the amount of work ethic that Cleveland had. Cleveland was a guy, according to, I'm pretty sure, biographer Alan Nevins and other biographers, who would get up at 9 a.m., go to sleep at 9 p.m., and call it half a day of work done. That's the kind of work ethic that Cleveland had. And he took responsibility completely for all of his decisions. Full accountability. Where's the accountability these days? Where's the accountability in the current administration? Where is the accountability? What I'm searching for isn't something, I guess it is unique these days, but it's not something hard to come across. It's not something, it's not something that's unhuman. It's not something that's alien. It's something that's very accessible, and it's just called being a genuine human being and being a straightforward, honest guy. And that's the kind of person that's going to get elected to the presidency, unless it's not, but I hope it is. The last 4 years, you could argue that you've not seen that. If the right gets their candidate elected, you could argue that you won't see that still. I hope that the good wins out. Whoever represents the light side will win out the duel. If not in this election, then in 4 years. If not in 4 years, then eventually. I believe that human beings side with the best-hearted human being. And that if they elect a human being who is of questionable heart, that human being can turn it around and say, wow, the country voted for me. I'm the most powerful man in the world. I've got a duty to the American people to see out that I do my best on every facet of my employment, of my job description, to do my absolute best. To ride it out and say, you know what, if I mess up, I'm going to carry it on my back until the day I leave the office. I've ran a minute or two over, and I apologize to O'Day if you're listening outside. I think you are. I'm going to get off the show now. It's been fun. Formal shout-outs, as always, to all my regular shout-outs. There simply isn't enough time, but you're all very much appreciated. If you got any questions, I've got... Well, the phone line here is 414-935-2951. If you run into me on the street, or if you watch the show, we've got a Facebook. You go to facebook.com/NoFrequencyRadio. All one word, No Frequency Radio. And you post on the wall or like it, and you say, hey, I want to talk to this guy or this guy, and we will get back to you, because I would love nothing more than to argue with you. That's what I'm known for. Even if I'm wrong, I will argue with you, I promise. I'm really good at it. At any rate, this has been No Frequency Radio. And until next Monday, I, Dominic Wanzer, am out.